Well, hey, I'm Connor, and this is Friends Stream Sports. We thank you so much for being here this evening at 8 o'clock as we get to uh, have a solo show tonight. Unfortunately, our dear friend Rutledge is not with us tonight. Rutledge has a real job in which he has to be working sometimes in the evenings, but that is why we bring on great guests like Daniel that we had last week. Some weeks I can't join. That's why our dear friend Stephen was joining us this past week, and we are rocking and rolling live here on Twitch. After this is done, we are going to be at on our podcast, and we are going to be on Facebook and YouTube. We're going to be all over the place here, just like I am all over the place this evening. But nevertheless, wanted to keep the same flow of our show on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock. Although Thursday morning, if you're bored, you should come join Rutledge and myself. Rutledge will be coming back to join us at 7 a.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Hawaiian for some more sports talk and Madden play. So, what to do for a solo show? Just me. What am I going to do? There's so many great things to be talking about. I could be talking about the NFL. I could be talking about college football. I could be talking about the NBA draft that just occurred. And now we get to talk about some soccer. Just very recently, we had a few U.S. men's national team friendlies. If you don't know this about me, to all of our viewers out there in TV land and stream land, I am a soccer fan as well as a football fan. I'm a fan of really all sports for sure. So we are going to be talking about some definite we're going to be talking about some definite soccer tonight. So my apologies for that brief interruption there, getting to uh, create the content for and produce and promote the show with thanks to Rutledge as well for helping with the promotion. Will be a fun little task this evening. But nevertheless, U.S. men's national team, after a very long break, was out on the field sporting the red, white, and blue for two friendlies. Greg Berhalter was able to take his men out onto the pitch to see their stuff against Wales and to see their stuff against Panama. What I'm going to do this evening, as opposed to kind of breaking down the games, I kind of want to go player by player. I think it's more impactful and more important to be going player by player through this time for us to really get a sense of what is going on. So without further ado, what I'm first going to do is talk about some of the players who played just versus Wales on the United States men's national team at the Swansea City Stadium of Lights. So first up, we had John Brooks, center back, who just played against Wales. John Brooks, for those who don't know, has had 8 starts for Wolfsburg so far and is a pretty regular contributor on a pretty solid Wolfsburg side. He did, he's the main center back, leadership position in a clean sheet game against, not the best European opponent, but not the worst European opponent. As we head towards this 2022 World Cup, and these qualifying matches next summer with the Ocho, not the Hex anymore, but the Ocho, John Brooks seems to be pretty solid there in leadership in the back line for the United States. Next up, we've got Antoine Robinson, who just played against Wales. For those who don't know, Antoine Robinson has made 6 starts so far this season for 18th place Fulham, based in the English Premier League, plays at Craven Cottage, which apparently is a pretty fun place to be at. Antoine, was out of position a couple times with his center back pairing with John Brooks. Certainly did not help his chances to get more first time and first team minutes at fullback. or center back, pardon me, with John Brooks in this performance. He still is very young though, but there's going to be a theme in this continual theme. And the reason why I loved this round of friendlies for the United States men's national team was because of all the young players getting minutes and getting their chance to step up. Um, you know, there was Antoine Robinson had a chance and didn't necessarily seem to take the most advantage of that chance. Quite unfortunate, but maybe he'll get some more time. Next up, I want to talk about Owen, and I'm going to mispronounce his last name, so my apologies. Owen Otawosi. Versus Wales, didn't really get enough time, just got subbed in a little bit, didn't have enough time to really make an impact. This 19-year-old has made one appearance this year for the 9th place Wolves side, and we are very excited to continue his play for Wolves. Hopefully, get some more time there, and hopefully Owen will continue to get some good club minutes. Definitely an uphill battle for Owen as we get to more of the strength of this side with the United States men's national team. There's going to be an uphill battle for midfield minutes anyways. So, he'll probably need to make his hay and make his case for this team by first off getting through the roster at Wolves. But that leads me to another player who is coming up and could very well end up being like a Wolf, and that is Conrad De La Fuente. Conrad De La Fuente, still, kind of a fringe player at Barcelona. Yes, the Barcelona. The teenager looked good at some points, looked a little lost at time, just needs some more time, right? Still plenty. He did look pretty good out there against Wales. But, when we're talking about what do you compare against? Do you compare this performance against a Wales side with, not their strongest side, or would you compare this performance against a side that is going to be playing deep into World Cup action? So still a couple years out. Conrad, he's in a great club and a great youth system at Barcelona. We wish him all the best. So those are the players who just played against Wales from the U.S. men's national team based off of their friendlies this past week, and 0-0 draw at the Swansea City Stadium of Lights. Want to thank our watcher, our viewer, our listener, and want to just remind folks yet again, we're on podcast, we're on YouTube, we're all over the place. And thank you for listening to me ramble here for a little bit. Next, I want to discuss and review and go over those players for the U.S. men's national team who just played against Panama. For those who might have missed it, U.S. men's national team had a 6-2 victory over Panama, which on the one hand, I think you can say, man, this was the Panamanians were kind of the last team in the World Cup from CONCACAF this past go around. So in a lot of ways, United States needs to be worrying about beating Panama before they worry about beating decent and upper class European sides. But then on the other side, you look at the talent that the United States has in its roster currently, and that there should be plenty of bigger fish to fry for this men's national team side than Panama. But let's go over and just touch base on a few of the players that Greg Berhalter placed out there against Panama. So first I want to discuss Chris Richards. Chris didn't play a ton, got subbed in kind of late into the game. It's what's really been more interesting is that, he has made 2 Bundesliga appearances this year and did play in the Liga Pokal game against Borussia Dortmund. So, if you're getting any kind of playing time as a Bayern Munich player, I mean, that is really solid stuff and should be celebrated. Could be that other center back, right? I think we've got one center back that, unless John Brooks really starts to kind of get derailed, he's probably kind of locked up a center back slot. Who's going to be his partner? Who's going to be the guy right next to him? Could that be a Chris Richards? Maybe. Well, there's still some time to show, but he's going to have some more opportunities over these next couple of years to be not just named on this World Cup side, but also to participate and play a lot of valuable minutes on the World Cup side. So next, I want to talk about Tim Ream. Tim Ream he played the John Brooks position, if you will, kind of that veteran leader of the back line for the U.S. in the Panama game. He has made 5 appearances this year for 18th place English Premier side Fulham. Player plays with good effort, plays hard, has been around for a while, but my opinion is that there are some players in the United States that they've been around for a while. Yes, they can compete in CONCACAF games and have competed effectively in CONCACAF games. But, if you're in a championship game against Mexico in a CONCACAF competition, if you are, World Cup qualifying or in the knockout stages, and you got to rely on a guy like Tim Ream to get you through, that's definitely going to be a cause for concern. If you're the opponent, I think you're looking at attacking a player like Tim Ream if he's on, getting plenty of valuable minutes. Not to say he couldn't come in as a substitute and really compete effectively in that role. Next, I do want to touch on Richie Ledesma. Richie has made one appearance this year for PSV, Dutch side PSV. In that one appearance, has 1 assist, so making the most of his time. And versus Panama, he was a sub that came in. He's a player, yet again, made the most of his time. Productive when he was on the ball, had some good chances, some good opportunities. Didn't get to see a ton from him, but hopefully he'll continue to get more minutes into PSV. So that's kind of a quick rundown. I know Sebastian Soto played some, yet again, nothing very memorable there. But that's a quick rundown of the players who played in the Panama game. So now I want to spend a little bit of time just thanking yet again everyone who's been with us as we have just started to do Friends Stream Sports. And Rutledge and I are very appreciative of everybody who is there with us and everybody who is getting to participate and have a little bit of fun with us. So we are very thankful for you there. Next, I want to transition just a little bit and kind of give yet again a brief overview and a brief synopsis of the players who played in both games, kind of where they stand, where I think they stand. Me and Greg, we have a lot of chats all the time about a variety of things. So including our lineup for the United States men's national team. So I did want to change that name there for those watching live. It used to say Born Financial Group, which I guess in a lot of ways is our first sponsor, seeing as we use the Born Financial Group Zoom, and we're very thankful for that. Next, just want to review and touch on and speak on those players who played in both games. First up in goal, we've got Zach Steffen. One of the interesting things about the goalkeeper position, if there's going to be one position for the U.S. men's national team, that's kind of that traditionally strong position that is goalkeeper, right? Argentines, you've got your number 10. Brazilians, you've got the offensive players. In Italy, you've got great defenders and great goalkeepers, along with some great scorers as well. The U.S. is by no means an Argentina, Brazil, and Italy, but U.S. has had some pretty respectable teams in the international stage over the years, and a lot of that has had to do with great goalkeeping play. And really, I don't know if Zach Steffen, I think Zach Steffen is going to be able to continue that tradition. He's just young. He's still very young. He hasn't had a ton of time at Man City. He did let 2 goals in versus Panama. I'd really like to see another goalkeeper in the mix, not Brad Guzan, but I'd like to see somebody else come up and really kind of challenge Steffen, because right now this job as the goalkeeper is kind of his to lose. We'd love to see some more experience. Maybe Pep will continue to play Zach for some cup games, things like that. But Serginho Dest, as a Barcelona fan, unashamed Barcelona fan, I am very excited that Serginho went from it went from Ajax, not PSG or PSV, but Ajax to Barcelona. He's already been thrown into the fire, thrown to the wolves, and has played pretty well. He actually scored today, November 24th, in his Champions League game against Dynamo Kiev. And, I think that's great. I think that's awesome. Versus Wales, I didn't love the yellow card, but looked decent other than that. Watching him probably more than some of these other players in their club games. He didn't do anything I hadn't seen before. Kind of same idea there against Panama. I think he has very quickly become the favorite to win that right back spot for Greg Berhalter's side heading into some World Cup qualifying games, hopefully next summer, pandemic permitting. Which, by the way, thank you to all of our folks working in the hospitals right now for helping keep us safe, and thank you for those people doing their parts. So Serginho Dest yet again is playing himself into that starting right back position for the United States. Next up, Reggie Cannon, another defender, could very well be on that left side, although I'm going to touch on the left side here later. Versus Wales, came on with just a few minutes left, didn't really get a ton of chances. Versus Panama, he did make the most of his start by bagging an assist, but scoring 6 goals, feels like everybody could get an assist against Panama. For Reggie Cannon, currently he's playing for Portuguese side Boa Vista, so is going to be getting more minutes than playing for maybe some bigger clubs. But, unfortunately, I think it's the unfortunate and the fortunate piece where we are starting to get more players on the U.S. men's national team side that are playing Champions League games midweek and are playing the quote Big 5 league games on the weekends. And Reggie Cannon not doing that, is that going to hurt just the eyeballs on him from the U.S. men's team side? I'm sure there's scouts watching him, things like that, and there's film being viewed. But I hope he can emerge from that Portuguese league and continue to play well. Next, another defender which had a lot of hype, and we haven't heard from him since we were told about how great he was, and that's Matt Miazga. Versus Wales, got a card. Never like to see a defender get a card. You don't want that to be happening. Versus Panama, was out of position a few times, was taken out for Chris Richard. I think the jury's still out on Matt Miazga. I think that's, this is now a third center back player that I'm not the most impressed with from these games. Matt Miazga is currently playing on loan at 7th place Dutch side Anderlecht. He's on loan from Chelsea, and he's made 5 appearances so far this season. I think he's still got some work to do to complete this back line if Matt wants to be the pairing with John Brooks. Next, we get into one of the really exciting players here on this U.S. men's national team side. We've got Gio Reyna, who is just lighting it up for the Bundesliga giants, Borussia Dortmund. But he had a goal against Panama on the free kick, right? Outside of that, had a tough time kind of working his way in. I think just as Rutledge talks about the Madden theory, I think that the United States has a ton of offensive potential, but it's going to be Berhalter's job to make that potential sing and really be able to take that potential and work that into a cohesive team. So I do think that Gio Reyna has a great potential to continue to earn these high quality minutes for the United States men's national team, just as he's earning high quality minutes for Dortmund. But I think he's just got to continue to play and, earn those minutes at Dortmund to play in those big games. So yet again, next year during the Ocho for the CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers, he won't be scared of anybody, right? I think the goal and what's the real positive thing for a lot of these players that are playing at really big clubs and really big games is a United States side that could walk into a Estadio Azteca and not be afraid and be able to take it to a Mexican side. Um, that that would be amazing. I think that'd be great, and I think guys like Gio Reyna are going to be a key to that. Next up, I do want to bring up another midfielder who is drawing a lot of attention, and I think is going to be in the mix for some of these World Cup qualifying games, and that's Tyler Adams. Both games, played really well in that defensive kind of holding midfield role. Kind of being more of a Barcelona fan, I understand the importance of having a good holding midfielder, a Sergio Busquets type in his prime. Unfortunately, old Boozy is a little slower as he is getting longer in the teeth these days. He could definitely be an incredible impact player for Berhalter, depending on how the folks like the Gio Reynas and the folks like the Pulisics and things like that kind of shake out, and where Berhalter ends up putting him in his lineup. But we'll see. We'll see for sure. Next, I do want to talk about maybe, I went from talking about Gio Reyna and Tyler Adams to a player you might not know as much about. That's Johnny Cardoso versus Wales. He was subbed in the 71st minute, played hard and tough. During Panama, was subbed in the 61st minute, played hard and tough. This young teenager who plays for the Brazilian side, Sport Club Internacional, played hard and tough for 2 games. And he's a midfielder playing against some guys with some real special potential for this men's national team side. So hopefully, there's a little bit more flair that can be rubbed off on Johnny from being down there in Brazil. It's always you gotta have somebody that's hard and tough on the bench, right? You gotta have your Paulinho or your Arturo Vidal or a player like that to bring that physical presence in the midfield. But there's a lot of talent, and we got to see how this shakes out. Next, I want to bring up a player that is going to be could be very impactful, but maybe not even for the U.S. So Yunus Musa is a player that is not cup or cap tied yet to any side, any team, and could very well be cap tied to England, our friends across the pond. And I hope he's not. I hope we get a steal because he played really well. And England's got a lot of quality midfielders, and I think that there's a lot of value to play for the U.S. I think that he is young, but versus Wales and then versus Panama when he got even more comfortable, you couldn't pick him out as the 17-year-old in the lineup. I think that is for sure. You could not pick this guy out as the 17-year-old in the lineup. And I think that that's a real, just important piece to consider and to think about. Currently, he plays for Valencia, which is a La Liga team, usually a mid-table to kind of upper mid-table team. Man, I hope that Yunus Musa ends up choosing United States. Next, I do want to bring up talking about a player that I think a lot of, who's already made splashes, has a great lineage, a great heritage, and a dad who knows what it's like to play at the top levels, which I think is a real positive. And that's old Timmy Weah. Versus Wales, got a little bit of time. Versus Panama, got a little bit of time out there on the wing. He is coming back from injury, which is why we haven't seen him much at Lille for those Americans who follow Lille. But Timmy Weah I think he is going to be a real critical piece to Berhalter's side because, if a guy like Timmy Weah could be placed out on the wing, that means that we could put guys like the Gio Reyna and the Pulisics a little bit further back, play in the midfield, and be able to help with that build-up play and just add some more dynamism to that build-up play. Next, I want to talk about Uli Lanez, a gentleman who's on loan at Dutch side. Herenveen, who's from Wolfsburg. Man, got subbed in late both games. Young pup, big pause, nice potential. That I think that's all you got to say about Uni Lanez. Want to talk about Sebastian Lletget. I put Sebastian Lletget kind of in that Tim Ream camp. Been around a while, plays hard, plays tough. There's going to be a couple MLS players on Greg Berhalter's side. Lletget is probably going to end up being one of them. But yet again, if we're going into a quarterfinal or hopefully even a World Cup semifinal match here against a against a Brazil, against a France, against a real a world international galactic classed side, and we got to roll Sebastian Lletget out there. That is something that Berhalter's game plan is going to have to help overcome. So, could he be really effective in CONCACAF games? Absolutely. But I hope that he continues to play well for sure. But he's definitely got a ceiling in my opinion. But that brings me to kind of the last two players that I want to talk about that I think are really going to be really impactful for this U.S. men's national team side. First off is Weston McKennie. And as I was doing my little write-up and making my notes, the one thought came to mind. Both games, Wales and Panama, Weston McKennie looks like the player who gets regular playing time at Juventus. Kind of like Serginho Dest. Serginho Dest looked like the guy who gets regular playing time at Barcelona. And he played like it. And we need Weston McKennie to continue to play like that. We need him to be that midfield presence and be, maybe not as all out attacking on the front foot, maybe as Rania, as a Pulisic, but man, Weston McKennie can certainly bring a lot to the table. And we hope he continues to get some nice quality time there at Juventus. But finally, in my opinion, this brings me to the story of the camp, and that's Nicholas Gioacchini, who plays for League B side or Ligue 2 side, Cannes, which is a French team. Barely missed a hat trick. It was against Panama, maybe not the toughest competition, but for a team in the U.S. men's national team side that really needs a number 9, needs a striker, needs a guy who's not going to be afraid to let it rip and just make it happen. I think that Nicholas Giannici was the story of the camp, was the story of these friendlies. And if you're looking at somebody to continue to give pressure to the Zardes and the Morris and the Josh Sargents of the world, this is going to be a guy that's going to do that and really help create a great number 9 spot for the United States. You usually don't talk about the number 9 spot. I mean, I know Clint Dempsey could poach a lot of goals, but a real dynamic someone to really stick his nose in there and knife in through a defense like a Luis Suarez. Those would be, just my quick analysis of all the players and all the minutes and all the time from these past 2 games. Yet again, I think for Greg Berhalter, obviously you want to go out there and win the games and you want to see these guys compete, but you've really got your eyes looking towards next summer during some of these World Cup qualifying games. And I think that that's very important just to remember, just to, if I was Berhalter, I'd be more focused on, okay, how is this player playing into what I'm trying to do? How is this player matching up with this player in the midfield? How is this side of the lineup working? Tinkering with things to really nail that down. So we will be participating in the World Cup in 2022, as opposed to watching from our couches. Want to touch on just a few notes. Christian Pulisic, late breaking news that he should be fit to be playing against Tottenham Hotspur this weekend, but the injury bug has kept him from playing much lately, which is kind of sad. And he is starting to get injured a little bit, which is something to keep an eye on. I had a coach when I played football in college who would say, your best plays work when your best players are out on the field. So it'll be important for Christian Pulisic to continue to try to stay healthy. And then finally, I do want to bring up my man, Josh Sargent. Quarantine / COVID restrictions kept his Werder Bremen side from allowing him to participate in these friendlies because they wanted him. And I think that's awesome. Because as opposed to playing against Wales and Panama, what was Josh Sargent doing? He was bagging an assist against Bayern Munich to help his side get a much needed point against those Bavarian Giants. And I think that the biggest outlook, and I think that this kind of draws into my conclusion for tonight in terms of the general outlook for the U.S. men's national team, right? There's two main thoughts. Number one, you got a lot of young guys that are really breaking into some really big clubs and really big leagues all over the world, and they need some more time. They need some more time to simmer, right? You know, when you're cooking up your brisket, you got your brisket on your smoker, right? You're not throwing that thing at 450 and being done with your brisket in 20 minutes. No, you're going 225. You're going an hour and a half a pound. You've let that thing marinate. It takes time for that nice brisket to be cooked and that great meal to come together. Same thing needs to be said about these players, right? We need a little bit more marinating, a little bit more of seasoning on these players. And I think that the United States could be a really dangerous side heading into not just the qualifiers for the World Cup next year, but continuing on, hopefully to bigger and better things. If there's any question marks, I think, as I mentioned, the second center back, I think left back is still not totally ironed out yet. And I really think, you know, there's a lot of, I don't want to say great and throw that word around a ton. There's a lot of really productive attacking wing midfield type players, but United States needs a number 9. If you're going to go 4-3-3, right, you know, you need a number 9 who is going to have their way of getting into the box and being that big time presence, right? Is it going to be you know, a Lewandowski or a Suarez, you know, guys that can knife in there and just be nearly unstoppable when they're facing goal, right? Is it going to be a Griezmann type player, a smooth player that can make a nice pass? As being an Orlando City fan, right, watching Dom Dwyer when he was scoring goals, just a bull in a china cabinet. Maybe not the most talented player out on the field, but a guy who, man, he is a load there in the box. I've been a proponent of the thought that you don't need to have just this world-class striker, but you need to have somebody who can be consistent in front of goal, put the ball in the net in front of goal, and someone that is going, someone that defenses have to respect, someone that defenses have to not just have one person marking, but, you know, at least another eyeball from another defender when you're talking about marking. So I really want to thank you for listening this evening. Very thankful for you all. You know, yet again, this is Connor here with Friends Stream Sports. We're going to be on, we are usually on at 8:00 every Tuesday night, but this Thursday, there's going to be a special Thanksgiving episode where Rutledge will be back and we will be playing some Madden, talking some Thanksgiving football, talking some American football, some Thanksgiving tradition, and it's going to be a lot of fun, but wanted to keep the consistent note here of being here every Tuesday. So thank you so much. If you like what you're listening to, just, you know, feel free to download our podcast. Feel free to watch our YouTube videos and support us. We're trying to grow this. We're trying to have fun with this. You know, shoot, over time, we'd love to be able to bring some viewers on and get to chat with them and make friends. Because that's what this is all about here at Friends Stream Sports. We're getting to make friends. We're getting to be friends. We're getting to stream sports, and we're getting to talk about sports. So thank you all so much, and hope you all have a great night.